Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Erik Larsen Day. It is Saturday. Hope you're having a great weekend. We are looking at the next issue from his The Savage Dragon run. This is issue number 19 from the 90s, more specifically April 1995. First of all, cover design I think is pretty cool. It stands out because you don't often get stuff up here because why? Well, most times you've got the logo there and you still have it here, but definitely the dragon is obscuring most of it with this kind of composition that he's got here. And that's why for last issue and this one as well, because last issue the cover's being, the logo, was being obscured as well. He's just handily dandily put Savage Dragon down here so we don't forget what comic it is. But he's, he wants so much to take over that space that even the arm here takes over a little bit of the Savage Dragon, and someone looking at this, I would assume everyone could figure it out, but you could think it's the Savage Drago, which is not the end of the world. So yeah, I think what makes this cover interesting is that we don't generally see the art up in that section, right? So it does make it stand out a little bit. And I think that was definitely intentional, and the layout and the construction of this image and the composition definitely went in that direction. So that's the cover. Let's have a look inside. If you remember last issue, Debbie is the girlfriend of the Savage Dragon early on at the end of the miniseries who gets killed. It's kind of her mother's fault, but she won't admit it. And where we are now is the mother's been taken over by this entity called the Fiend, if I'm not mistaken, who's given her some supernatural powers, obviously. And at this point, we're in a cemetery where she's pulled her daughter out of her grave, brought her back to life, right? And at the end of last issue, left us on the cliffhanger that we see here, where Debbie says, "Kill him, mommy, kill him." Yes, dear. So basically, this is kind of recreating last issue, right? And just throwing us back and reminding us of where we are. So Larsen's always clever with that. I'll repeat once again, the best writer at Image Comics in the early 90s. So obviously, Larsen's not going to wait. Dragon's not going to wait around, so he starts kicking some ass here. And this feels like I'm in around the period where Larsen really pins down, the Savage Dragon's anatomy. He's always kind of been top heavy, but now like the top is getting really huge to Hulk levels, and the lower body, the legs and stuff, are quite tiny. Which does become kind of, the dragon's trademark in as much as his look goes. I remember, when Greg Capullo does him in Spawn and he does some sort of pinup at some point, I do feel like Capullo really caught on well to kind of the proportions that Larsen was establishing there, and is one of the artists who his rendition of the dragon works really well as opposed to a lot of others that don't, I find. So yeah, a lot of that massive anatomy shown off here. This is a pretty cool 2-page splash. I gotta say also, Dragon was that violent series with lots of blood and gore, more so than any other title. Her hand going through his stomach here, right? The exit wound, seeing the hand there, that doesn't work at mainstream comics back then. DC and Marvel, you're not going to see that. Dragon here says to Debbie, right, or Zombie Debbie, why Debbie? Why do you want me dead? What did I ever do to you but love you? Why do you want your mother to kill me? So we can be together again in heaven forever. And that's a nice plot twist, I think. So the mother, obviously, that's not what she wants. And, she's still got her hand right through Dragon's stomach here. Do your worst, darling. Either way, I can't lose. So just to show you, too, the size and the bulk of this character. Like, Larsen's always great with proportions and size and establishing those things. It's just pitch perfect here. Great composition. The dragon's big enough, but like, how big is this thing? So it's got interesting textures, right? I talked about that kind of pinky cellulite thing he's got going. He's pulling off, I guess when you draw gross, disgusting characters, you can show their nipples and people don't freak out as much. It's part of the grossness or something. It's kind of a weird phenomenon. So here she's just angry at the dragon, so she just starts like cracking and breaking his legs and stuff. Crick, crack, hack, crack, the sounds. Sends everyone back to their death and leaves the dragon. And she says, "As for you, when I can find a way to be sure you'll rot in hell for all eternity, I'll be back." So obviously it's not over. And that's a story thread that'll more than likely come back later because, again, I probably mentioned it, but Larsen, where early on I might have thought that some of the threads he was weaving maybe wouldn't amount to anything, almost all of them pretty much pay off later, which is what was fun about his comic and following the Savage Dragon, seeing some of those things eventually, and seeing how they pay off, right? Here's a splash page that we kind of is reminiscent of issue 1, right? When the dragon is found in the fire, and it's also reminiscent of when he falls off the building after fighting the Overlord. So this is a shot I feel like at this point we've seen like 3 times, maybe more. It's going to be a reoccurring shot with the dragon in the series. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. It's pretty cool here where you don't see it because obviously that would be pretty gnarly to draw. So this is a good way where you see the reaction to something, where you save on time in drawing it and getting the story across. And you don't have to draw the gross stuff that you're talking about. But basically, if I read a bit of dialogue, all of his limbs are broken in several places, as are his ribs, neck, and spine. And he's got a hole in him the size of a volleyball. I'm going to need some doctors in here. This operation has got to be done now. He heals so quickly that his bones are starting to knit themselves together incorrectly. Doctor, he's healing over the clamps. We've got to move them or they'll be irretrievable. Good Lord. Damn it, he's healing onto the scalpel. The others will be here in a few minutes. They'd better be, or this man will be a hopeless cripple and the city of Chicago will lose one more good cop. So I guess they reset his bones and stuff. And he's sporting the Marv bandages on his face. So they patched him up, and these B story here, which will meet up with the Savage Dragon later on in the issue, these police officers are chasing the octopus guy, who I just realized now by saying that kind of has a Dr. Octopus kind of look when you'll see his face. So didn't even think about it before, but he's just kind of a weird, mutated, twisted version of Dr. Octopus, really. So, as a kid, maybe thinking this is quite original and fun and interesting and different. Not so much when you figure it out. Vanguard poster inserted by Scott Eaton and Bill Anderson. I mean, at this point, these pinups, I would say just the artist, not that they're bad or anything, but just every pinup, the artist is less and less known or, less and less relevant, I guess. So let's just move on. So, of course, something's happening with the cops here. Sergeant Howard Neisman has been abducted. The octopus man has been spotted. Calling all units. That's pretty handy-dandy little bit of radio there. So Dragon needs to get out, but, of course, Alex, you need to heal, all of that. Just kind of breaks out of his cast. He's healed enough at this point. Boom, that wasn't very long. Back with a gun, back with the police department costume, back in the sewers. Kind of like the first issue of the regular series where he fought the, what was his name? The Arachnid, right? He's kind of like a gross version of Spider-Man. Now we got a gross version of Dr. Octopus in the sewers. Is this a theme he's trying to establish? Maybe hinting to a storyline, future storyline? I bet you maybe it is. I thought this was clever. Kind of an interesting panel where he uses the panel border here as a very actually detailed contour so that we see the dragon's head and fin and the gun he's holding. I think that works really well. That's pretty clever and interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that on my own, but now I'm kind of like seeing if I could, thinking of things where I could integrate something like that. It's a cool kind of design effect. So there we go. We get to see our Mr. Octopus and see what he's he's got an octopus mouth, as an octopus does, but like, man, much grosser than the mechanical arms of Dr. Octopus, but that's basically who he is. And of course, chaos ensues, well drawn, of course, great reveal. And, I should repeat it. It's like, most times if I skip over some of the arts, because it's, there's, how many times can I repeat how well drawn it is? The dynamism and stuff. He knows how to use. Here, he doesn't even have to do any kind of speed lines because the design of the sewer kind of does the job for him, right? All these horizontal lines here. And basically finishing off with the reveal that, he's been hiding Cyberface here, right? Hey, it's Cyberface, the guy who was supposed to testify against Overlord. Thanks for the reminder, buddy. Good job, Larsen. That means we can finally nail the slippery son of a bitch. It must be my birthday, Dragon says. So we had seen a few issues past that Cyberface was alive when we thought he was dead. So what actually happened? Well, it's kind of revealed here, I guess, or may have been in early issues and I missed it, but it's repeated. Cyberface is in police custody. As you recall, sir, he was revived by Project Born Again. That means that your identity is again in jeopardy, Overlord. Shall I alert the vicious circle? So there you go. So Overlord knows that he's in trouble because Cyberface is not dead. And he's got some information about his identity, right? So that's where this issue is going to leave us off. And again, Project Born Again is a connection there where Larsen was pretty good at creating those connections within the Image universe and the other Founding Fathers characters, Spawn, Youngblood, all that. And Project Born Again is, if I'm not mistaken, it's from Bloodstrike. It's the one that takes dead soldiers and reanimates them to be like Black Ops operatives. They're like the dark version of Youngblood, I guess, is the best way to describe it. Surprising even back then how people just weren't noticing the fin. Let me see if Larsen's doing it. I mean, I'm pretty sure he is. Right? He's mastered the fin at this point. Where's the fin at? It's funny when you don't get like a side shot of the fin ever. Oh, right here. Yeah, see? Comes down low. Even though it's out of frame there, you can tell. Right here. So yeah, it's like a detail that people don't seem to pick up on. It's funny. Oh, man. Spawn? Drawn by John Cleary, one of the, Todd McFarlane clones of the day. Interesting. Spawn's America's #1 comic. Spawn, America's #1 favorite superhero. Spawn, created by America's #1 artist Todd McFarlane. And Spawn guest stars in the Deadly Duo #1. Keep your Spawn collection complete. Buy a shitload of this book. We have no shame. Clearly. And unfortunately, well, at this point, almost 30 years later, I wonder about this comic. I kind of do like John Cleary to a certain extent in a funny way, even though I have this whole fascination with artist clones. Some of them are really bad, but some of them are kind of fun and close or deviate in a fun way. So John Cleary, I find, is one of them. Not quite Todd McFarlane, but there's something still kind of fun to his artwork. So I'd be interested in I don't know if this, how big of a print run this issue had, but I'll see if I can maybe find this, because I am curious, and I guess I could kind of consider this as part of my Spawn collection, keeping it complete, right? But I am curious. I would like to see this issue. I hope Cleary's not just doing the cover, so I'll do some more research on this, and if I do find it, obviously I'll do a review pretty quickly once I get it. It's Bitchin' Stuff, Star #2 on sale July. Never got into Star. This is a point, I think, like already Savage Dragon, I was not reading at this point, so I was not going to be buying Star. Yeah, I was pretty much out of comics by this point and kind of into girls and rock and roll. But I would come back pretty soon. That kind of cycle happened a few times in my life. So there you go, guys. That is the Savage Dragon #19 review from Big Baby Reviews. Thank you so much for watching, and if you are subscribed and you're still there, thank you very much for being loyal to the channel. If you are watching but you're not subscribed, please do so. It really helps out the channel. It takes only but a second for you. Helps get us out there to other people who are like-minded and are into the same kind of stuff that we are, namely comic books. So everyone out there, thank you so much for watching, and have an awesome day. King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.